heat shield kits for both the $899-$959, as well as a different version for the $1199-$1299 are in stock at PanigaleHeatShield.com. It's just a small thing you can do for your bike, relatively cheap compared to the prices people pay for accessories on a Panigale, but it actually just makes the riding experience that much better. So today we're going to be installing the Panigale Heat Shield kit. What you're going to get with the kit is this full color instruction manual, and then this is the actual kit. Now with this kit, you actually have two options. You can do sort of the light installation, which just involves installing the heat shields on the seat and the subframe, and that's going to give you probably 60–70% of the benefits of the kit. Or you can go for the full Monty installation, where you're going to have to lift up the subframe, pull those plastic engine covers off, and install the heat shields there. So for the basic install, I'll remove the seat, which is just going to be some sort of screwdriver and a little 4mm hex bit. You'll need one more, just a 3mm hex bit, to remove the plastic trim in front of the fuel tank. And then you'll need a regular old 1/4" socket wrench with an 8mm attachment. And then you're going to need some kind of rigid block, about 6 inches tall, and that's just going to allow you to prop the fuel tank up. Okay, so to do the full installation, we're going to need a larger socket. I have a 1/2 inch here with a few different extensions, as well as a 1/4" socket. A 4mm Allen wrench is going to come in handy if you have to remove the exhaust heat shield. You're going to need a Torx T-40 bit. That's going to help you remove those bolts to lift the subframe. A low profile 8mm wrench. And then lastly, you're going to need one of these universal attachments. One of the most important things you can do before starting this installation is to make sure your fuel tank is basically close to empty. So now that the fuel tank is empty, you can get to removing the seat and then lifting up the fuel tank. So we're going to start with that 3mm hex bit and remove the seat. And the seat pops off just as easy as that. And then moving up here to the front, we're going to remove just 4 bolts here that are holding this front plastic fuel tank trim. Alright, and then after those 4 screws are loosened, that front fuel tank trim will just pop right off. And then moving on here to the rear of the fuel tank, we just need to remove this metal bracket, and that's all that's going to be required to let us lift that whole tank up and out of the way. And then we're going to take the 1/4" socket wrench and move on to those 2 nuts at the back of the bracket. Once those 4 screws are out, that whole bracket just pops right off. We can go ahead and lift up the tank. There's a couple different connectors we're going to have to remove. So the first thing you need to remove is this little grounding tab here, easy as just popping it off. The second thing, you'll see a connector on the bottom side, so you're just going to want to pry up that little lever and then yank the connector out. Take that 6-inch block that we talked about from earlier, just lift up the tank, just insert it under here. So next is just to take your 4mm hex bit, and we're going to remove the 2 screws here on the left side engine cover. And then the only other thing you have to remove on this side is the 1 8mm bolt here on the bottom. Over here on the right side of the bike, we're going to remove these 2 bolts on the right side engine cover using the 3mm hex bit. And then just like on the other side, we're going to remove an 8mm bolt here from the bottom side of the cover. That's the bolt that we're going to have to remove. So I'm going to show you guys how we can go about lifting the subframe so we can get those plastic engine covers off. See that one? Alright, so that's the left side out. Let's move over to the right. This one's a little bit easier to see. One last thing to do on this side, just a couple bolts that hold this exhaust heat shield to the bottom of the subframe. So we just need to get up under there with a little Allen wrench, and we're going to remove those little bolts. Alright, so now we're going to be removing the left side engine cover. All we have to do is lift up this subframe, and then we're going to be able to wiggle that thing out of place. And then we can pop it out of there. So now moving on over here to the right side, we're just going to do the same thing. Lift that subframe up and pop that engine cover off. There you go. And that's everything we have to remove. Clean off the bottom of the seat. Clean off the inside surfaces of all of these pieces of bodywork, and we're going to take all of these heat shield pieces and install them one by one onto the bodywork. So these are actually the subframe pieces. We're actually going to install those directly to the inside of the subframe. That was the last heat shield piece to install, so really all we have to do now is reverse all those steps to reinstall everything, put the bike back together. see, completely invisible from the outside, maintain that beautiful look of your Panigale, and you know, just provide that little bit of extra barrier against the heat reaching your nuts and inner thighs. Depending on the tools that you have and your level of experience, I would guess with this video and with the instruction manual, it might take you around an hour to 2 hours. But at the end of the day, I think for 2 hours and for a very reasonably priced kit, the benefits you're going to see from this are huge.